morning and welcome, Patriot News Hour. Joe and Jason on a Hump Day Wednesday. So many things to talk about. You know what? I got a new idea. Let's just blame everything on P. Diddy. P. Diddy did it. It's P. Diddy's the reason why World War III is breaking out. P. Diddy's the one. P. Diddy caused inflation. Yeah, boy, you don't want to be that guy. He may make Epstein look like a good guy, huh? Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And, man, we are not at a loss for things to talk about today. We had jobs number, the ADP number come out today. We're waiting on a response from Israel, and if the stories are to be believed, let's just say it doesn't bode well for those that are hoping for inflation to come down. And then the Japanese, they elected the new prime minister, the war minister there in Japan. The surprise, remember last week, well, guess what? The surprises just keep on coming. They've said no more rate hikes. That's it. We're done. We're not. Just kidding. And the yen is falling out of bed today. So there's stuff happening everywhere. We had the vice presidential debate. I don't know. Did it mean anything? I don't know. But they were out there talking. Did a lot of talking. I don't know if it actually accomplished anything. And then, how bad is the automotive business going? Stellantis, a 20% drop in sales. The Tesla, they missed. Well, you know what? Here's the problem with Tesla. I think too many people showing Tesla cars just blowing up. I guess they're sending out PSAs where Helene was going, hey, if your electric car got flooded, don't try to start it or turn it on, right? I don't know if you're going to have the fire department, somebody's supposed to come and try to help you. That could never be a good thing. And then Nike, the shoe company, now apparel company, they are getting hammered right now. They've withdrawn the outlook for 2025. They're saying that revenue has softened since the start of the year, and apparently this last quarter well below expectations. We lowered our estimates and price targets, reflecting weaker margins, slower pace of recovery in sales and profits, and Nike getting taken to the woodshed. By the way, the decline there of over 10%. So Stellantis says, hey, Jeep, that's Stellantis, Jeep, Chrysler, sales down 20%. Nike comes out, sales are down 10%, not to be outdone. Apple says the iPhone 16 sales not quite living up to expectations, and they're already cutting back the orders that they were planning for the Christmas holiday. The earliest, by the way, that Apple has cut production on a new launch. So a lot of things, right? I know that's just some of the stuff. That isn't even everything that we have to talk about. And by the way, the 10-year note, right back to 3.8%. As ADP, Jason said, there was 143,000 jobs created in September. That's an improvement from the 103,000 from last month. Pretty close to expectation. Expectation was 128. So pretty close there. Not a lot of surprise. I guess if there was one surprise, maybe construction jobs that had a big increase. The small businesses struggling the most, according to ADP. Employers with less than 50 employees, predominantly those with less than 20 employees, actually losing jobs. There was a little bit of a recovery in the bars and waitresses and waiters, but mostly in line. I guess if there's good news there, pay was slower, a little over 4% if you stayed on the job, 6% if you went somewhere else. Those were down. By the way, don't tell that to the strikers. This is day 2 of the port strike. The Boeing strike, I don't even think Boeing right now, they're not even talking right now. Boeing looking to raise $10 billion by selling stock. I don't know. I guess they can do it. Somebody will buy it if it's cheap enough. But Jason, a lot of things to talk about. When we get back, though, I think the primary thing, Israel is letting it be known what the targets are going to be. So apparently there is going to be a retaliation, and it is going to be a major retaliation, and people are talking about oil. Is Israel going to knock out Iranian oil facilities? I think that's got everybody on edge. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Wednesday. Yeah, you may want to be more diversified. I'm just saying, this is getting creepy now. Quick look in at the market. So the Dow was down yesterday. Right now it's up 20. I don't know. I don't feel real good about it today. The S&P's up 3. The Nasdaq's up 40. Is this kind of maybe sell and get out? I don't know. I don't know that. But this 10-year note skyrocketing to 3.80, which is kind of inverse of what I would thought. I mean, with what's going on with Israel and Iran, you'd think that flight to safety and that people would just buy, drive the yields down. Got the opposite today. May have to do more with what's going on in Japan. Crude oil higher, but not horrible right now, $71. Gold's down 15. Had a really nice day yesterday, but a little profit taking today. We'll see how long it lasts. 26.54. Silver is higher. Silver's really looking strong here. Right? And again, we're looking for this breakout. It's right near it. But right now, 31.69 on silver. And remember, check out our friends over at WWIII. Starting to get weird when you see things like Stellantis, Tesla. We know Ford, GM, they're all missing. And they're going to miss big on auto sales. But Nike probably surprised me the most, because that really tells you that the consumer is really starting to break down here, and maybe a little faster than what the markets are realizing. We'll see, because the jobs still look good. But it's just simple. They're out of money. I mean, right? They're just not paying enough. Get more diversified. Our friends over at WWIII up to 10.25% fixed rate of return. And I get it. Well, why should I care? I mean, that's good. Sure, that's good. Right? But, look at gold. Gold's up 40%. So why should I settle for 10? Even the S&P, they had really good years. I understand that. But I'm going to tell you right now, the next 5 years, nah, you're not getting that. I mean, lock in, you get over 50% in 5 years. Yeah, I'd take that all day. Not correlated to the stock market, not correlated to the Fed, doesn't care about the Japanese yen. Heck, it doesn't even care about World War III. Check them out. InvestWIII.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. We're just make it easy. Let's call them. 888-Y-REFI-24, 888-973-3924. And remember, you got to have at least $50K. You can use existing IRAs, that excess money in the bank, whatever it may be. Somebody can use a 401K, but get diversified. And I mean quickly. Israel's prime minister saying that last night that Iran launched 181 missiles directly at Israel. They're now saying that the majority of them were intercepted. The words out of Israel, almost no damage. Almost no damage. So a couple of them landed. They did say that they don't believe that there was any casualties. Israel's media had cited officials saying retaliation on Iran will include hitting gas and oil rigs as well as Iran's nuclear sites. Their oil facilities will have a devastating effect on the economy of Iran. So, Jason, I think, you know what, based on what we've seen out of Israel, I think this makes sense. I think they're going for a knockout here. They're going for a complete knockout. We saw how they've handled Hamas, wiping out their leadership. Then there was Hezbollah wiping out their leadership. Now they've entered into Lebanon. I think this makes sense. Do not be surprised. I know I would think that's probably not what people want, because if they start taking out Iran's oil fields, what are we talking about? Another, $10, $20, $30 in oil potential? I mean, that could potentially be it. I guess the good news right now is oil demand has been waning, and maybe if they take out Iran's oil facilities, Saudi Arabia will pick up the slack. But I think that's likely. The nuclear stuff, I think that's a no-brainer. But the oil and gas fields, that definitely is going to have an effect.
Yeah, I think continued action of any type is probably going to have an effect for sure. I just wonder if it's going to end up being, invading Iran in some respect and occupying. Because if that ends up being the thing, then we could see years of this. You could see years of this. This is not just, hey, they're going to attack and that'll be it. It looks like occupation may be in the future if this gets that far, Joe. If it gets to the point where they're bombing the things you're saying, then occupation, then what's the cost of everything going to be, right? America gets involved at that point, right? When it comes to occupation, that's it's what it looks like. It's what it looks like is coming, Joe, and we know what happens. We've seen the Gulf Wars and what happened to oil, right? You were selling gold back then, right? It affects things.
Yep. And I'm going to just say that again. I think that's probably likely. This is just. Do I have insider information? Of course not. Does Benjamin Netanyahu call Double J on the phone? No. I'm just going by the recent actions of the Israelis. It seems to me that they're going for a complete knockout. And if that's the case, Jason, I think they're happy. And maybe happy is the wrong word. That's the wrong word. I think this is what they were hoping for. That Iran would do something to this level that gives them the excuse to punish them. And like I said, this hasn't been, hey, we're just going to, if they just hit the nuclear facility as an example, okay, no big deal, no harm, no foul, right? Nobody's going to get too worked up about it. They start blowing up their oil production facilities. That's a major that's a major escalation, because that is something where I know that they would love to cause hardship and get regime change in Iran, right? I know I think in the back of their mind, that may be what they're thinking. If we can inflict enough damage, maybe the Iranian people will rise up and we can get a government more friendly. I don't know, but I think it's like, matter of fact, I'll be shocked if they don't do it. How's that?
It sure seems like it's happening, isn't it, Joe? It's and I would say, you said excuse. It seems to me like it's planned. The whole thing seems planned to me. So whatever happens economically as a result is going to happen. It seems to me like it's going to happen just as well, Joe. This is the way the region is built now.
Yeah, the war drums are just, they're pounding. Absolutely pounding, and on top of that, there's this latest report out about how dependent we've become on our government, and this is something where when we talk about where's inflation going, Jason and I are telling you we're not going back to 2. I mean, we may get there in a fake one. I think inflation's going to roar back here. But the latest number from the Wall Street Journal, so I'm going to, say that it's probably at least somewhat accurate. They called it the growing reliance of Americans who are dependent upon government aid. This is how big the government has gotten. And they say that a much larger share of Americans now are totally dependent upon the government, not only with their income, but all of their health care needs. If you go back to 2000, the number of counties, so this isn't city, these are counties. So take as an example here in Arizona, Maricopa County. Right? That's most of Arizona, really, when you think about population. That's all of Phoenix and Scottsdale and Mesa, right? I mean, Glendale and Peoria and Chandler and Ahwatukee. And it's huge. In 2000, there was maybe 300 counties where at least 25% I'm sorry, let me get this right here. Where they're saying that at least 20% of the population is totally dependent upon the government for income. From 2000 to 2020, it went from a little over 200 counties to more than 2,000 counties across the country. They said, so there's now, and this was only 2,000. Many of the countries rely on heavily on government safety nets and government social programs are clustered in a lot of battleground states. 70% of the counties in Michigan, Georgia, and North Carolina are significant reliant on government income. 60% of counties in Pennsylvania and Arizona, 13 of the 15 counties. Now, part of Arizona's problem, right, we got a lot of old people, right? And of course, we've got a lot of what? We've got a lot of immigration here in Arizona. So think about that. 13 of the 15 counties that make up the state of Arizona. It really is, Jason. It is eye-popping to see. And they're saying that a quarter of the population, which will be 65 and older, this number is only going to get worse. So we've become a nation now where in a lot of states, most of the counties now are becoming dependent upon the federal government. At least the people living in these counties are dependent on the federal government.
I think people are way, way too dependent upon the federal government, Joey. One of the reasons we sell gold and silver is to protect you from that entity, right, Joe? How much is the government intrusive upon the lives of Americans year after year after year? It's a growing problem, and everything you just said is exactly right. And Joe, you know me. Anyone listens to us on the air, and me, I wanted the government out as much as possible. Why did I get into gold and silver? It's another way to try to get government out of my life a little bit. You got to, unless you love paying taxes on every single stitch that you possibly can, and I guess if you vote for more government and more government and more government, if you like mom and dad to be government, then you're probably listening to the wrong show. You probably don't buy gold and silver. But Joe, it's everything from financial to military, geopolitical to financial. It's government's a part of every stitch of everything we do, Joe.
Yeah, it's just insanity. It really, really is. It's sad. No wonder why we're going into debt. Look like crazy. We'll be 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this Wednesday, and I guess is it World War III Wednesday? I don't know. More people out there now pushing for Israel to take out the Iranian oil ports. Man, I don't know how that's going. We haven't really talked a lot about Helene, Hurricane Helene. It is a grid apocalypse in the Carolinas. There's been a lot of reports of looting, but this is kind of the aftermath. This is the things you worry about, and I guess it's probably good that there's all this other stuff going on. Maybe not for the people in the Carolinas. You know what I haven't heard? Where's FEMA? I haven't heard a word about FEMA or anything, but they're saying in the Carolinas that the infrastructure has been totally decimated. 50% of the remaining outages will require significant replacement and rebuilding, not just of poles, but lines and substation equipment. They're saying that hundreds of thousands of people will be without power for a substantial time, saying that 360 power substations are out, indicating that many are completely flooded, and the energy company isn't even able to assess the damage until the floodwaters are lowered or have been pumped out and the equipment is thoroughly dry. So, Jason, this is not a good report coming out there. And it'll be interesting to see how this affects things, because at the same time, you got the port workers striking.
Yep.
We've got hundreds of thousands, a million, maybe 2 million people without. I mean, that thing came. Tomorrow would be a week.
Yes.
I mean, that's really tough. And according to what we're reading from Duke, it's going to be a while. They're saying that there's a ton of places they don't even have access. They can't even assess any of the damage that's going on. And then now we're waiting on Israel. Is Israel going to strike the Iranian oil ports? And it just has this horrible recipe, doesn't it? It really, really does. And it's going to be, I don't know about the strike, how long, but boy, they sure look like they've taken a very hard stance. The labor union there, I think this thing's going to drag out for a while. This thing's going to get very interesting very, very quickly.
You forgot to mention there's an election in 5 weeks.
Well, yeah, throw that in there, right? Because, the vice presidential debate.
Is the losing side going to accept it? That'll be what everybody's afraid of, right? Will the losing side contain themselves the day after, right? You could say a lot of these actions that are happening right now seem to be timed to happen before this election, right, Joe? For whatever reason, they, did Israel have to go into and attack Hezbollah before the election? Well, no, they didn't have to, but they sure did choose that timing, didn't they? The strike, the dock strikes, they could have done this next month, or they could have done it a month or two ago, right? No, they did it, 5 weeks before the election. So as you can see, the timing has a lot to do with it, Joe. I guess there's going to be a lot of winners and losers chosen at the other side of this election.
Yeah, I agree with all of those things, and it's going to be very curious how this ends up. And today, silver looking really good right now, up another 41 cents here, right around $31.80. And we got those silver quarters today. They're at $250. You know what's funny is a roll of silver quarters is now cheaper than 2 rolls of dimes at the $250. Here's what's so funny. The dime premiums have shot up. And I think it's a lot of people starting to worry about, hey, what's coming next? I want to have barterable material. This World War III thing, I don't know. It's normally dimes and quarters are the same. I've been doing this for over 20 years. They've been the same price forever. Until this last week. So what do I say to that? Buy quarters and buy all you can at $250 a roll. A roll, that's 40 silver quarters that come in each one of those rolls. And I would tell you right now, I think it's so close here. A close, like I said, anything above 32.25, look out. The computers are going to go wild. And just so you know, that's spot right now. The December silver contract, it's over $32. And that's the one they're going to care about. That's the one they're going to look at. And why do I have that horrible feeling if Israel decides, which I think they will, because that's just what they've been doing, hit these oil ports, you could see another one of these. People, well, what about silver? When's silver going to catch up? I think silver's getting really close to catching up. If we close above that, we could see $35 silver very quickly. It's very possible because that's what the charts say, the computers say, and I think we're going to have a situation where silver is probably going to continue to drive gold higher because everyone wants a gold correction. I want it, you want it, everybody wants it. We just can't get it.
Well, maybe the gold correction comes after gold has gone to $3,000 or $4,000, Joe.
I know.
There's going to be a correction. That's just the way a market works, even a controlled market. But that doesn't mean that the correction has to happen at $2,600 or $2,700 or $2,800. What if the correction happens at $3,500 and it comes back to $2,900? Well, then you should have been buying at $2,600, right, Joe? You should have been buying right today. What is it, $2,650, wherever it is right now? You should have been buying at this point, Joe.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. 800-951-0592. When we also get back, we're going to have a little tiny. I got some Russian rubles. I just got a handful of them. They're graded Russian rubles. I'm going to actually put them up there for below melt. So get ready for that as well as we continue to give you the best prices that we possibly can. We'll be back right after the break. (800-951-0592) Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this Wednesday. I've got these 4 Russian rubles. They've been sitting in my vault forever. So I've decided maybe we got some Russians out there that are interested in them. One's an MS-65, three are an MS-66. They have a melt value. They're 0.1254 ounces of gold, so more than a tenth of an ounce. Right now, melt on these coins is $330. You guys want one of them, all of them, all four of them. Forget about the grade. Like I said, three of them are MS-66. One's MS-65. $325 a piece on those rubles. So below melt, if you want to jump. I've only got four of them at 800-951-0592. As we continue to watch these markets here. Thankfully, we've gotten gold off a little bit, so you can still get $20 gold, $27.75 right now. And, of course, then the rolls of silver quarters at $250. And again, tomorrow we get jobless claims tomorrow. And then, of course, Friday we get the government number. And then, we'll wait and see what happens with the strike. How long's the power going to be out in the Carolinas? On top of what's going to happen with the Israeli retaliation. Man, and that's just a mention view. By the way, that city, yesterday I remember that city it has now been confirmed Russia has taken control. It's an important city, a high ground city here, and now one step closer here. And why do I have this feeling that this is why this next story is happening? They're very close now. Who's they? The G7 of loaning. This is how they're phrasing it. Loaning Ukraine $50 billion, but really not loaning it to them and using the confiscated. Right now, the EU, mostly because it's mostly in Europe, has about, I want to say it's like $230 billion worth of Russian assets. Essentially, Jason, it looks like nobody wants to pay for it. So they're talking about a scheme here where they're going to take these frozen Russian assets and pay back the loan with the profits that are made off of these, because I'm assuming somebody's investing in it or what have you. And the funny thing about this is, I think this just makes things worse, right? A longer term, hey, that may sound like a great idea. Yes, people are, do it. Yes, that way, hey, we won't have to spend our money. Boy, that's going to be really short-sighted. I think that is going to make more countries leery here about doing business with the West. I mean, these are dangerous precedents. It really is.
800-951-0592, right, Joe? Those Russian rubles should have been gone the moment you spoke about them. gold
They're
below
still
melt.
here. They're still here.
Yeah. Gold below melt. Here we are. We've been offering stuff like this regularly at spot, below cost, below melt, and I get it when people don't have it, they don't have it, Joe. But why do I feel like most of the reason that people aren't buying right now is deer in the headlights? It's all deer in the headlights. I'm watching the news, and I'm standing frozen and thinking. A lot of times when I encourage Jack to be successful at whatever he's doing, sometimes he'll overthink what he's doing. And I was like, just stop thinking about it. Just go do it. Just do it. Quit thinking so much about it. And gold should be more of a situation where you don't have to think that much. You're not going to lose all your money in gold. It's not Enron stock, right, Joe? And it holds its value versus inflation, and has proven this. Let's just take American history for the entirety of this country's history. The $20 gold piece only bought you $20 worth of stuff. It was only one cow for a $20 gold piece. There was no inflation. The dollars is what changed. The gold never changed. The dollars changed. The Federal Reserve showed up in 1913, and now $20 gold pieces, I think yesterday on special, were almost $2,800. So when we're offering gold below melt and somebody hasn't snatched them up, you guys are thinking too much. That's all there is to it. You're just thinking too much.
800-951-0592. That is the toll-free number. And, what else? Boy, we talked about Nike. Man, its biggest drop in Nike sales in a really long time. Housing starts. This was another one. Big drop in housing starts, especially single-family housing starts. The issue here, Jason, is a lot of these spec homes now are done, and the builders still have them. So now, all of a sudden, the builders stopped building single-family homes. You still got the apartments going, but as far as completed new homes on the market, Jason, they're approaching a 1-year supply right now where they've gotten homes started that aren't bought, and a huge piece of that now is turned into homes finished and not bought. So kind of interesting because ADP said almost 20% of the job growth was construction jobs. I don't know. We'll see. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. The rubles are gone. Thank you so much. Now I don't have to look at them anymore. $20 Liberties in Saints, $27.75. I'll tell you what, you buy 10 or more, we'll take them down to $27.50. $27.50 puts you less than $100 over spot. These are great premiums to cash in here. And then on the silver side, listen, these rolls of silver quarters, that's the deal by far. $250 on rolls of silver quarters at 800-951-0592. And, gosh, Jason, we're at no loss for what's coming next, right? We've got what's going to happen with the Israeli retaliation, what's going to be the jobless claims number tomorrow. And then, of course, got the government's jobs number on Friday, the Boeing strike, the port workers strike, and now Duke Energy saying, hey, it's going to be a while before the power comes back on after what happened with Helene.
We'll watch it. We'll watch everything unfold and see what happens. The next days and weeks are going to be. We don't know the exact trajectory, do we, Joe? But we know there's going to be a trajectory, and it sure is really, really strong for gold. Gold is what is a flight to safety every time. So if you're listening to this show and you're considering buying gold and silver, you got to call the number and get involved in protecting what you've fought so hard to save. Let's face it, there's everybody in the world, especially the government, tugging at your wallet. You got to put some of that away so that you can tug at your gold and silver when you do need it. We do buy gold and silver too. Some people don't understand that. I know that there's some internet guys, they love to try to beat the price on everybody, and then you go to sell it and they're like, oh, we don't buy that stuff. We buy too, right, Joe? If we move you in or out or trade.
Yeah, and especially if you want to sell a large amount, call us because we've got different programs that allow you to get an even better price. So if you're looking at that, 800-951-0592. We also do precious metals, IRAs, gold and silver, IRAs. You can take all of it, part of it. Maybe you have a 401k from 2 or 3 jobs ago. We do those as well. And don't forget, we just finished our metals program. Right, it's another great way for, at least for right now, for as little as $100 a month, you can get 4 physical deliveries a year, and we've got all of that information available online as well at allamericangold.com. But $20 Liberties, $27.75, 10 or more, $27.50, and rolls of silver quarters at $250. And, well, I guess we'll see exactly what the response is. My guess is it's not going to last. I think we'll know the answer, I think, before Friday. That's what I think. If it goes to the weekend, then I'm worried they're going to do a lot of damage, right? Because they may be telling, hey, wait for the markets to close before you go blow them up. I don't know.
We'll see. It's Wednesday, Joe. It seems like it's a long time till the weekend, doesn't it? It seems like that.
It seems like it's too long, right? Yeah, it seems like it is too long for all of this to happen. 800-951-0592. Jason and I, we're coming right back with the Half Empty Cup.